All right, no, kind of late, but Caruso, Josh Giddy, this trade, I was like, cause I heard, cause I thought about it, I was like, oh, I think it's a good trade, both teams. Then everybody else just seemed to be like, oh man, Thunder, good win, Bulls, how y'all doing? Now, that question, valid, but it's more so about the Giddy stuff and the Giddy side of it. And to me, it's funny to me because they were like, man, Bulls, you didn't get any picks for this. And I'm like, why should they get picks for this? To me, this is one of those in a way that's kind of like, I think, regular like times of like, or back in the day, or whatever you want to say, even a couple years ago. That's what I'm trying to say. The Bulls will be given a probably a late first round pick somewhere in the future. The reason I say that is that Caruso's a 31-year-old guy that while it's like, it's like his contract is favorable because they were able to do the Giddy trade, even though OKC got enough room to take whoever, is that normally with that person, as well as he plays defense and shoots, he's 31 years old. And you're trading him for a 21-year-old. That normally with all-star esque potential. That normally never goes the way of this being a straight up, but where people are saying that you should have gave the first for your young asset. That's normally not how that goes. Um, Now, I was like, I think that's a lot more to do with the off the field, off the court stuff with Giddy than anything else. But going OKC, I was like, hey, this is one of those good veteran moves. You needed a veteran that can play. You needed a veteran that could, I was like, that can do multiple things without you really like taking anything away from your team. He plays defense already on a good defensive team, but I was like, but between him and Lou Dort, if you needed to, cause guess what? I was like, to me, this is sort of the move you need to base. This is the move basically for Dallas, to be honest. And don't get me wrong, like there's a couple other teams, but they have the backcourt in a way where it's like, okay, Dort got Luca, you go get Kyrie as best as you can. Like that's what this move is to me more for. We'll see if they can make other moves for other people in the that they play against in the West. But you get a dude that can shoot threes. You get a dude that can play defense. What Giddy wasn't able to do. You don't have to worry about finding his spot, his role, his minutes in the same way as Giddy because Giddy, even though he didn't play well, is still one of the young part of the nucleus that you're like, I still need to give him minutes to develop. I still got to give him minutes to show what he can do to see how he can work things out. And I was like, even though they was talking about like he was going to go probably be a 6 man anyway, and which is why this trade sort of happened, but he's still so young that you got to figure out what you need to do. I was like, but he also wasn't going to really get paid. I was like, they already got their three dues. I was like, well, Shea's already done got signed the contract. Lou Dort, I think, still got like maybe 2 more years. Cause I remember he signed that 4 year contract I think last year. Cause I won him on a Hornet. And you got Chet and you got J Dub coming up, so he was going to be the odd man out anyway. So I think this cleared all that out, the confusion. He's gonna know his role. He's an older dude. He done played in some playoff game with the Bulls, with the Lakers, champ, that whole thing. So it's a good pick for them. More interesting is really the Bulls side, mainly because what do the Bulls do? Now, I think on one hand, I've seen people say that doesn't mean that they're going to rebuild, and I was like, yeah, because you got to get rid of DeRozan or Vooch to me in order to get that rebuild going. There was like a Lonzo replacement, and in a way I see that. I was like, he doesn't play defense or nothing like that in the same way as Lonzo, but pushing the pace, passing. I was like, and also too, like, if you want to think about it, Lonzo at this time was pretty much the same player. Playmaking good. I was like I was like Gideon got a defense, but he wasn't the defensive player he was before the injury. But he could push the paces. His shot wasn't there, and then he developed. But you also got to think that maybe, and this is what I'm thinking too. I mean, this is why I like to trade. I've liked Giddy for the most part for since the Thunder has had him. I always thought that him and Shea being like 2-6-6 type of guard that could both ball handle was really good. Giddy just hadn't been able to develop his offense in a way that where now that J Dub then came in and sort of supplant him as guess what? It's like now I'm the number two like that quickly. But I think with the Bulls, I'm like, okay, you get enough shooting around. You still got Kobe White there. I was like, we'll see how the Levine stuff goes, cause that'll give them a score. I was like, maybe it might help them to have a point guard as well too. I was like, they could push the pace. They got quite a few young players on that team. They always a weird mix of like weird older people. But I just think, but from Giddy, I think that you're going to see in the next couple of years. I think that's when he had to sign a new contract, basically. How much does this bring out of him? And I don't think it would be out of realm, especially in the East, that he could do something. Because I was like in the West, there was no chance, guard, whatever. And I'm like, if he reaches potential of like all-star ability, I'm like in the East he can do that. Then in the West, where it's like you're not going to probably get to that spot. But I really think that his off the fit court stuff really hampered all of it because not just that he had something, but I was like, oh, what his situation was, which I was like, got resolved, and that is what it is. I was like, opinion. I was like, I ain't gonna talk about that on here like that, but I'm just saying that's taken in a different light than someone like Bridges for like they're like both can be bad things, but one's going to be looked in a really different light than that. I was like, and guess what? With that, as we kind of seeing like how with Drake stuff, that doesn't you're not going to be able to talk your way into any type of way of that without it being the label that's what he's going to end up carrying, even though no matter how much it gets resolved, no matter how the age gap or whatever you want to say it is or whatever your views on it, that's what he's labeled as no matter what really in his career. Like this dude gonna have to win like 3 championships, 30, and then it'd be like then 30 years from now, well it can't. We got the internet now, unlike them olden days. When as soon as you type his name up, guess what? It's gonna at least be in there in that first page. That's with that boy for life. But I was like, but a 21-year-old guy with all-star potential on a team where pretty much he's gonna be able to run the show how he wants to. I was like, Kobe White had a really good season this year, bounced back, saved his career type of thing. But I don't think he's gonna be looked at as the guy. You're not. I was like, he's not gonna be looked at as Giddy, where it's like Giddy has a little bit of more aura around him of like, what could he be? We don't know. We're gonna give him a chance, And that Ben Simmons like light, where it's like Ben Simmons, I was like, until now everybody's sort of done with, but for a while he was no matter what, he still had that aura. Could he be? Maybe he could be. What he can do, I don't know. So I like it for both sides. I think I was like, to me normally Caruso would be attached with a second round pick or something like that, than Giddy would. But I was like, but I do understand from the Bulls that's like you couldn't have tried to get a first round pick. You should at least try. Maybe they did. But I'm just saying they got so many picks, and I was like, hey, look, can we just get something so I can look good here, that kind of thing. But for the Thunder, hey, I was like, they still gonna need a couple moves, but this is a good piece that I think. Look, they already got the number 1 seed last year, and I was like, this helps them perimeter wise. I was like, helps ease some of those rotation minutes that they was giving to someone like Wiggins and stuff like that. That's like, okay, like Caruso going to at least give you defense if he's not even hitting shot. Whereas like all them other dudes, like if they're only offense and they're not giving you offense, then why are they out there, kind of thing. And the Bulls, I was like, hopefully this leads to them moving on. And I was like, not necessarily rebuild, just because I was like, Giddy's not. I was like, he's really young, but he's not a rookie. So now he got playoff experience. I was like, so I'm like, he's not in the ilk of like we're just rebuilding, but maybe you just start to get younger, like let some of these older dudes go and whatnot. But anyway, that's my thoughts on that trade. We'll see what happens in the coming days. Until then, I'm out.